Hello, this is the Lord's Legion yet again, and welcome back to the best villains ever. A show in which I talk about my personal favourite villains and discuss as to why I really love these villains so much. And as you can tell by the title and thumbnail, this episode is going to be based around Cletus Kasady himself, Carnage. So let's kick this off by talking about his backstory. Now, Cletus Kasady has always had a troubled childhood, as Kasady did his first kill on his grandmother by pushing her down a set of stairs, as well as his own father killing his mum, eventually sending Cletus Kasady to an orphanage. But because of Kasady's antisocial behaviour, it made him a complete target against other orphans as well as the staff that worked there, which led to Cletus Kasady getting so pissed off he decided to burn down the whole orphanage, killing a whole bunch of people in the process. As Kasady became a serial killer, he eventually got caught and was sent to prison, and as shown, history has repeated itself as the other inmates decided to attack Cletus Kasady and try and kill him, because of what he has done in the past as well as his antisocial behaviour, and eventually led to Cletus Kasady sharing the same cell with Eddie Brock, who was the first incarnation of Venom. But after a short while, Eddie Brock escaped by having the Venom symbiote reunite with him and break out of prison. However, the Venom symbiote was not alone, as its new offspring followed. Out of desperation of finding a new host, it decided to pick Cletus Kasady and bonded to create the all-powerful Carnage. And with his newly discovered abilities, Carnage decides to go on a killing spree and try to kill everyone that has wronged him in the past. However, that attracts the attention of Spider-Man as well as his father, Venom. But after their first physical encounter, Spider-Man and Venom have realised that Carnage is more powerful than both of them combined, and so they decide to team up and stop the common enemy. Now, what makes Carnage an interesting character is the fact that he just does not give a fuck about life itself because of his backstory. And because of his already terrible childhood, and wanting to get revenge on people that have wronged him in the past, it ultimately led him into becoming an all-round criminal. And because of how everyone keeps on hating him over the years, Carnage decides to let out his inner rage and take it out on everyone that has wronged him. And over time, his darkness consumed him to the point where he does nothing but cold-blooded murders. And in a weird way, it somewhat makes Carnage into a sympathetic figure in a weird sense, because of his terrible upbringing that has led him into this path. But what I like about Carnage in terms of a Spider-Man villain is the fact that he could potentially be a sort of mirror to Peter Parker if Peter Parker decides to do the with great power but none of the responsibility. And if Spider-Man decides to flat out start killing people, he would end up becoming like Carnage. Now, Carnage does have a ton of abilities under his belt, such as superhuman strength, speed, reflexes, durability, agility, stamina, and healing. Which his healing factor is so good that he got his head blown off by a gunshot, only for the symbiote to just regen his whole head within seconds. He also has all the abilities of Spider-Man and Venom combined, and even improvements, such as weapon, wall crawling, camouflage, shapeshift, spider sense immunity. He can even alter his limbs and transform them into other weapons like axes, knives, swords, claws, shields, and amongst other things. But like all other symbiotes, they have a weakness to sounds as well as fires. And in recent memory, Carnage has obtained a fraction of the Darkhold's powers, which not only got rid of all his vulnerabilities, but also gained him additional powers. Not only is Carnage's original abilities more enhanced, but he is also able to do miniature duplicates of his own symbiote and control other people, with the addition of draining other life forces. And due to his unstable mind, Cletus Kasady is immune to mind control, as proven by the time the wizard tried to control Carnage's mind. Now, over the years, Carnage himself has done quite a few impressive feats of his own. For starters, being capable of overpowering both Venom and Spider-Man at once, even at their first encounter, thus making Carnage the most dangerous and powerful Spider-Man villain. Sorry, Marlon. As mentioned earlier, he is also able to block mind control, slaughtering hundreds of lives, making Carnage having won the highest blood count in the Marvel Comics. Has taken on the Avengers by himself on several occasions, and has even controlled the Avengers against Spider-Man. Carnage was so powerful against Deadpool that Deadpool had to think of another way to beat Carnage without the slashing or bullets blazing. Not to mention he has also stole the Silver Surfer's surfboard and obtained the power Cosmic. Had Venom absorb the Carnage symbiote, only for Cassidy's bloodstream to cast another symbiote. Not to mention getting torn in half by Sentry, who is one of the most powerful beings in the universe, while floating in space. Survived getting lobotomized by the Scarlet Spider, only to recover eventually, as well as getting his head blown off only to regenerate after a few seconds, obtaining a fraction of the Darkhold's powers, thus making him even more powerful. Had once teamed up in a crossover with the Joker and lived to tell the tale. Led a team of supervillains who even hated his guts, and has even survived a battle against Onslaught, who was controlled by the Red Skull no less, and is considered to be one of the most powerful beings in the universe, yet Carnage managed to survive, alongside 2 Stark Sentinels that was in his way. Now one could argue that in some incarnations of Carnage he is a pretty bland villain who is all about killing. However, in recent memory, the writers have found interesting ways in taking the character, such as Venom Carnage when he was so frightened of giving birth to another symbiote, as his offspring would eventually overtake him in the name of Toxin. Or in Carnage USA, where Cletus Cassidy wants to celebrate his return by controlling many other people in a small town, turning it into his own kingdom. Or in Axis, when Carnage became inverted and was hoping to become a hero, but with his sinister past haunting him. And even in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game, they decided to turn Carnage into a mirror of Spider-Man. If Peter Parker decided to choose with the all power but none of the responsibility. And speaking of other versions of Carnage in other mediums, Carnage hasn't really been in that many TV shows or games. Although he has made an appearance in the 90s Spider-Man series. And despite being slightly watered down, they managed to do Carnage justice. And in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, they ruined him the first time around because he never really had a time to shine, but when they redid Carnage for the 3-part saga, he was done much better. And plus we have the Ultimate Comics version of Carnage, and I'd rather not talk about that. And because of his tragic backstory, and because of the fact that he's Spider-Man's most dangerous nemesis, and because of him becoming all the more threatening as time goes by, and most importantly because I shit myself when I first saw Carnage in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, this is why I put Carnage as one of the best villains ever, and why I consider Carnage to be my personal favourite villain of all time. Mostly because of the 90s cartoon making me fall in love with the character, and Carnage was the very first villain that I've ever loved as a kid. So what do you think of Carnage as a villain? Please comment below and share some thoughts. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video, please like and subscribe, take care and have a good one.